Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name's Derek, and I'm 35. Recently, I've come to terms with the brutal truth: being married to someone who seems more interested in convenience than connection can sap the life right out of you. Let me rewind a bit to when things were exciting, or at least they seemed that way. When I met Martha, she was vibrant, always on the go, and full of this infectious energy that made everything feel like an adventure we couldn't get enough of each other. Back then, every smile, every shared moment felt like we were the only two people in the world. We got married, and for a while things stayed that way. But as time passed, I started noticing a change. Fast forward 5 years into our marriage, and it was like living with a stranger. The warmth, the spark, it was all gone. One night, after another evening of her brushing me off with a tired wave, I decided to bring up the elephant in the room. "Martha, we need to talk," I said, sitting down beside her on the couch. She looked up from her phone, sighing, as if I had just asked her to solve a complex math problem. "What's wrong, Derek?" "This," I said, motioning between us. "We're barely connecting anymore. We're more like roommates than a couple." Her response was cool, almost clinical. "Derek, you know I'm busy with work. It's not like I'm ignoring you on purpose." I tried to keep my frustration in check. "It's not just about work, Martha. It feels like you're not interested in us anymore." She shrugged, her attention already drifting back to her phone. "Marriage isn't always about sex. Sometimes it's just about being there." Her words hit me harder than I expected. Was this what we had become? A partnership with no intimacy, no connection? I didn't expect every day to be fireworks, but I didn't think it would fizzle out this quickly either. Over the next few months, I tried everything I could think of to reignite the spark. I planned romantic dinners, cleaned the house without being asked, even suggested we take a weekend trip together. Each time, I was met with a polite smile and a vague promise of maybe later, but later never seemed to come. One night, I suggested we see a counselor, thinking maybe a third party could help us bridge the gap. Her response, a dismissive laugh. "Derek, we don't need therapy. We just need to get through this phase." It didn't feel like a phase to me. It felt permanent. And the word first. Part 1. Started to realize Martha was comfortable with the way things were. She wasn't interested in changing a thing. It wasn't until a few months later that I began to notice something that shifted everything for me. It happened slowly at first, like a shadow creeping up behind you. At first, I wasn't sure what to make of it, but it was too consistent to ignore. Martha's habits, small, seemingly insignificant details, started to change, and I couldn't help but feel unsettled. She began spending more time with her friends, going out more frequently, staying late at work, and coming home later than usual. The weekend plans that once involved us became increasingly filled with social events where I wasn't invited. Over the next few weeks, I caught her texting someone at odd hours late at night. When I was trying to sleep, I could hear the tapping of her phone against the nightstand. It wasn't just the time that bothered me, it was the secrecy. I asked her about it once, trying to keep my tone casual. "Hey, who are you texting so much lately?" I asked, leaning against the door frame of the bedroom. She didn't look up from her phone. "Oh, it's just a work thing, nothing to worry about." But there was something in her voice that didn't sit right with me. I let it slide for a while, telling myself I was just being paranoid, that I was overthinking things. After all, we had been together for years, and we didn't have secrets, or at least I thought we didn't. One night, after I had gone to bed, I woke up to a strange noise coming from the living room. I went out to investigate, figuring maybe she had dropped something or needed help with something. But when I peeked around the corner, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Martha was on the phone, her voice soft and hushed, but I could still hear the excitement in it. She was talking to someone, a man, and they were laughing together. The way she laughed, it was a sound I hadn't heard in a long time. It was the kind of laughter that felt real, like something only shared between two people who were connected in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. I stood frozen for a few moments, unsure of what to do, how to process what I was witnessing. I walked into the living room, and my voice shaky, I asked her, "Who are you talking to?" She seemed a little surprised at my question, but quickly recovered. "Oh, it's just a coworker," she said, her voice calm, but a bit rushed. "I'll talk to you soon, goodbye." And with that, she quickly ended the call, her hand pressing the phone off with almost mechanical precision. I stood there for a moment, still processing what had just happened, before I turned around and walked back to the bedroom. As I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the thoughts started to creep into my mind. What was really going on? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She had told me it was just a coworker, but I didn't fully believe her. The way she had quickly ended the conversation, the urgency in her voice, it didn't seem like a simple work call. I began to wonder if maybe it wasn't just a coworker after all. What if there was something more to it? I tried to push the thought aside, but it clung to me, filling me with suspicion. It felt like there was something I wasn't seeing, something she wasn't telling me. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention to Martha. She was spending even more time out with friends, going out for drinks after work, or staying late at the office. I told myself that she was just busy, that things were hectic, but something in my gut told me otherwise. There was a change in her behavior, a shift that didn't sit right with me. Every time she came home late or mentioned another spontaneous outing, the feeling of doubt in my chest grew stronger. One afternoon, I got home early from work. I hadn't expected to be home so soon, and as I walked into the hallway, I noticed something strange. Martha's phone was sitting on the table, unattended, face up. It was unusual for her to leave it like that. I had never been one to snoop, but for some reason I found myself walking toward it. My heart raced as I hesitated for a moment, torn between my own instinct and the thought of betraying her trust, but curiosity gnawed at me, and I couldn't stop myself. Martha was in the shower, getting ready to go out that night. I knew she wouldn't be back for a while, and that gave me the opportunity to take a quick look. I glanced at the screen, and my breath caught in my throat. There was a message from someone named Chris. The message was simple, but it was enough to make my heart skip a beat. Can't wait to see you tonight. I've been thinking about you all day. I stood there frozen, the weight of the words sinking in. I could hear the sound of water running in the bathroom, and my pulse raced. I quickly pulled myself together and put the phone back, trying to act normal. Just as I set it down, the sound of the shower stopped, and Martha emerged wrapped in a towel, her wet hair dripping onto her shoulders. "You're home early," she said with a surprised smile, wiping her face with a towel. I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yeah, I finished up early today." She gave me a quick glance before turning to dry her hair. "I'll be heading out soon. Got a few friends I'm meeting." I took a deep breath, my mind racing with questions. "With who exactly?" I asked, trying to keep the suspicion from creeping into my voice. She paused, glancing over at me with a faint smile. "Just some friends from work, you know, nothing special." "Good," I said, though I didn't believe her for a second. I could feel the lie hanging in the air. I knew she wasn't telling me everything. I watched her finish, getting ready, my stomach twisted with the thought of Chris, the message still replaying in my mind. When she finally left the house, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my keys, slipped out the door quietly, and followed her. Something told me I needed to see for myself who she was really meeting. I followed her at a distance, trying to stay unnoticed. I didn't want her to realize I was tailing her. She drove to a bar downtown, one we had visited a few times before. At first I thought it was just a casual hangout with her friends, but then as I saw her near the entrance talking to someone, my stomach dropped. It was Chris, the man from the message. They were standing close to each other, laughing and chatting as if they were the only ones there. I watched, frozen in place, my heart racing. Then, without warning, they leaned in, and to my horror, they kissed. It wasn't a casual peck. It was full of passion, the kind of kiss that made my blood run cold. I couldn't look away. I didn't know how to process what I was seeing. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned and walked back to my car, the sound of my footsteps echoing in my ears. I needed to be far away from the scene, far away from the suffocating reality that was unfolding in front of me. Once I got home, I paced around the living room, the weight of the situation pressing down on me like a TH000LB. What was I supposed to do now? How was I supposed to face Martha? I didn't have the answers, but what I did know was that I couldn't go on pretending like everything was fine. I couldn't ignore the truth any longer, and when she came home, I would make sure she knew that I knew everything. The door creaked open, and I heard her footsteps as she entered. She was home. I stood in the living room, my fists clenched at my sides, my heart racing as I prepared for what was sure to be the hardest conversation of my life. "Martha," I said, when she entered the room, my voice steady but strange. She froze, looking at me with a faint, nervous smile. "Hey babe, I'm back." I didn't respond. I just stared at her, watching the way she avoided eye contact, the way she shifted uncomfortably. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. "I saw him," I said, my voice cold, each word coming out like a knife. "What are you talking about?" she asked, confusion in her tone. "Stop pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. I saw the message. I followed you, and I saw you with him. You followed me." She snapped, her eyes narrowing. "What's that, a new thing? So wherever I go now, you're just going to follow me?" Her voice dripped with anger. "Are you out of your mind?" I responded, my frustration boiling over. "I'm telling you, I saw you kissing another man, that you're cheating on me. And this is your answer? Yeah, what about it?" She retorted, crossing her arms. "What about it? We're married, Martha, and you're asking what about it? You're supposed to be with me, only me. So what if we're married? If I want to sleep with other guys, I will. I don't owe you exclusivity." She shot back with an air of defiance. "I thought you were more open-minded than this, and I'm just sleeping with them. It's not like I have feelings for them. That's the point of a marriage, exclusivity," I shouted, my frustration reaching a breaking point. "But what am I talking about? The last few months There's been no intimacy between us, Derek. Our marriage isn't just about intimacy, it's more than that, she said, her tone dismissive, as though it was nothing. What intimacy? There's no intimacy at all, I said, my voice cracking with frustration. So you prefer sleeping with other men rather than your husband? It's fine, she replied, coolly shrugging. We use protection. I laughed, bitterly, disbelief creeping into my voice. Are you listening to yourself? I can't believe this. Why are you acting like it's such a big deal? She shot back, her voice laced with annoyance, but as I stood there unfazed, my gaze cold and steady, she began to falter. My silence, my unwavering composure chipped away at her defenses, and eventually she broke. Her anger, once sharp and venomous, slowly melted into something softer, something fragile. Almost desperate, like a dam ready to burst. You want the truth? Fine, I needed a break, okay? I was bored, and I wanted to sleep with other men. I was trying to fill a void, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. What do you mean you were bored? And this is your solution, really? Sleeping with other guys? I asked, my voice shaking with hurt and betrayal. Martha, if you think this isn't a big deal, I don't even know what to say to you. I'll stop sleeping with other guys. I think I'm ready to start a family. I want to have kids with you, Derek. Oh, so now you're going to stop, and you think that will fix everything? I didn't want to hurt you, Derek. I didn't know what else to do. I thought this would make me feel better, but it didn't. She looked away, her voice faltering. I made a terrible mistake. It's too late now. Martha, there's no turning back after what you did. What do you mean? She asked, her voice softening with concern. I mean, I can't do this anymore. I took a deep breath, feeling my heart breaking. It's over, Martha. I'm filing for divorce. What? I'm telling you that I want to have a family with you, and you're going to leave me? How can you do this to me? So now I'm the bad guy. You cheated on me, Martha, and I can't forgive you for this. We're done with it. I turned on my heel and walked into the bedroom. I grabbed a bag and began packing a few essentials, clothes, toiletries, my laptop. Martha stood in the doorway watching me in silence, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. You're really leaving? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, I replied without looking at her. I can't stay here. I zipped up the bag, slung it over my shoulder, and without another word walked out of the house. The night air was cool and still as I got into my car and drove to a nearby hotel. The reality of what had just happened weighed heavily on me, but I knew it was the right decision. The next morning I called a lawyer to start the divorce process. The lawyer was professional but sympathetic, guiding me through the necessary steps. Over the following weeks, the divorce proceedings began, and Martha and I communicated only through our attorneys. The process was painful but straightforward. Martha didn't contest the divorce, and we divided our assets with minimal conflict. She kept the house while I took my share and moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't easy to let go of the life we had built together, the memories, the plans, the dreams. They all felt like ashes now, but as time passed, I began to heal. I focused on my work, spent time with friends, and slowly rebuilt my life. Martha and I never spoke again, and I heard through mutual acquaintances that she had moved on. So did I. Eventually, the pain of betrayal lingered for a while, but it became a distant memory as new experiences and relationships filled the void. In the end, I realized that sometimes letting go is the only way to find peace, and in that peace I found myself again. Thank you for watching.